I'm sure we've all watched the film Alice in Wonderland, or at the very least heard of it. The 2010 fantasy adventure film, directed by the renowned Tim Burton, seamlessly blends live action and CGI, creating a visually thrilling experience. The film delves into the world of a 90-year-old Alice, who during a garden party, following a white rabbit, falls into a rabbit hole leading her to the whimsical world she had encountered many times throughout her dreams. On the surface, Alice in Wonderland is nothing but a classic, innocent family film. Unfortunately for you, I'm going to completely annihilate this perception. Dissecting the film and viewing it through Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory, it's easier to see that Alice in Wonderland is far from an innocent child's film. Alice isn't exploring an enchanting wonderland. Alice is exploring the grim depths of her unconscious mind, where repressed thoughts and memories reside. Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theories completely shifted the world of psychology. Dating back to 1923, these ideas can still be seen depicted in modern literature and film, such as Alice in Wonderland. Central to Freud's ideas are the concepts of the unconscious mind, id, ego, and superego, which this video essay will unpack. Furthermore, we'll cover the film's depiction of Freud's defense mechanisms and how they allow the audience to comprehend deeper messages ingrained throughout the film. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Freud's theories, here's some definitions you'll find handy. The id is the primal and impulsive part of your unconscious, doing what it wants when it wants. According to Freud, the id acts on the pleasure principle, constantly seeking instant gratification. So next time you miss a day of school, sitting watching Netflix and eating pizza all day, you know what to blame. The id is found within the unconscious mind, another key term you'll need to understand. The unconscious mind is a part of your mind where all your disturbing, impulsive, traumatic thoughts and memories are stored, outside of your unconscious awareness. Opposite to the id, there is the superego, the part of you that's mostly unconscious and controls the rampant impulses of the id. The superego is the extremely judgmental and harsh part of you that inclines you to behave in socially praised and acceptable ways. In between the two comes the ego. The ego balances the id and superego by striving to satisfy the id's desires in a socially acceptable manner. The ego acts on the reality principle, rationally weighing the consequences versus benefits of actions. Each character within Alice in Wonderland embodies the representation of the id, ego, and superego. The interplay of these extreme personas results in an effective display of the character's interaction and behavior, mirroring the complex balance between the id, ego, and superego. Alice is the representation of the ego, the balancing force between the id and the superego. While voyaging through the Wonderland, the representation of Alice's unconscious, she maintains balance and responds rationally to the extreme and chaotic environment around her. The further we see Alice in her journey through the Wonderland, the more we see her grow psychologically. Through a psychoanalytic view, this perfectly encapsulates Freud's definition of the ego, stating, "It is the site of perception and consciousness." It gradually becomes more complex as a result of his experiences. Throughout the film, Alice faces various tribulations and characters who challenge and push her ability to adapt to situations, molding her into a strong individual, undertaking a similar evolution to that of the ego. In addition to this, Alice defeating the Jabberwocky is a representation of her defeating her fears and inner demons, finally solidifying herself as her own person, allowing her to come out of the Wonderland, her unconscious mind, a different woman. She breaks through the chains of societal pressure and does what she truly wants to do for herself, rejecting the engagement proposal. The Mad Hatter represents the id. His unpredictability and impulsive outbursts symbolize the unfiltered and primal nature of the id. The Mad Hatter is content with being crazy, allowing the chaos within his mind to operate free from the constraints of society. According to a brief introduction to psychoanalytic theory, Freud defines the id as the unconscious source of bodily needs and wants, emotional impulses and desires. The tea party scene is an excellent display of the Mad Hatter's unconventional and impulsive behavior, through his illogical statements, abrupt changes in conversation, and his senseless riddles.
Idea why a raven is like a writing desk.
We are shown the reflection of the id's impulsive and spontaneous nature. Furthermore, the Mad Hatter's disregard for societal norms and etiquette further mirrors the characteristics of the id in the unconscious mind. This is evident when the Mad Hatter spots Alice and gets up and walks across the table, knocking over and breaking multiple plates, cups, etc.
Hey, watch it!
Freud stated that the id knows no judgment of value, no good and evil, no morality, which can be seen reflected through this action and his behavior. On the opposite side of the spectrum, the Red Queen personifies the superego, Her dominant, authoritarian personality can be seen displayed throughout the film and provides us with an exceptional reflection of the tendency the superego has to impose rigid moral standards and to exert control. According to Freud's Sigmund biography by Peter Gay, the superego is the moral conscious, influenced by societal norms and parental guidance, striving for perfection. This quote perfectly encapsulates a personification of the Red Queen. She expects everyone under her ruling to conform to her ideals, mirroring how the superego pushes you to conform to societal standards. When the Red Queen feels that someone has diverted from her idealistic behavior and strict rules, she serves them with harsh punishments, which can be seen with her frequent commands of
off with his head! Off with the head! Off with the head! Off with the head! Off with his head! Off with his head!
This directly correlates with Freud's ideas that the superego operates as a carrot and a stick, an ideal and a punishment. Her unforgiving nature and relentless judgment perfectly mirrors the superego's tendencies to criticize. She has an unhealthy obsession with order and perfectionism, leading to great disappointment and anger when not achieved. Barbara and Philip Newman, in Theories of Adolescent Development, state the superego tends to be harsh and unrealistic in its demands. Sounds a bit like somebody we've been talking about. According to a brief introduction to psychoanalytic theory, the superego is a major source of suffering, although it also acts as a guarantor of morality and hence helps preserve the individual in safety. This further mirrors the Red Queen, as although she is the antagonist in this film, without her Alice would be lost. She would have no objective or goal to strive towards, leaving her lost and vulnerable within the depths of her unconscious mind, the Wonderland. Films don't see success through purely entertainment. For a film to see success, audiences must resonate with characters' struggles and battles. According to a brief introduction to psychoanalytic theory, the idea that audiences might gain enjoyment from identifying with the protagonists in a film is a strong and obvious one. Audiences do not attend films merely to be entertained. They line up at a local multiplex to encounter long forgotten but still powerful anxieties that stem from the universal developmental experiences. They seek solutions to problems in the culture that defy simple answers or facile explanations. Viewing this, the audience sees a little bit of Alice in each of themselves. Watching her grow through the challenges she did and eventually blossoming into a better version of herself gives the audience hope that maybe one day they themselves will be able to break free from the societal chains that forces them into unhappy lives through their choice of careers, partners, education, etc. Before we get into the next section of this video essay, it's important you know some key definitions of Freud's theories of defense mechanisms. So get your notebooks out and pay attention. According to Freud, the ego experiences threats from unconscious ideas which give rise to anxiety, and it survives by defending itself against these threats. This is done through the use of defense mechanisms. The defense mechanisms we'll dive into include denial, projection, and sublimation. Denial is like it sounds. It's when you deny something, refusing to allow the idea access to the conscious mind. Easy. Sublimation is when you redirect its impulses into more socially acceptable mediums. For example, an artist facing many sexual desires might paint images featuring sexual symbols which aren't seen as negatively by society. Projection, according to a brief introduction to psychoanalytic theory, is operation whereby qualities, feelings, wishes, or even objects which the subject refuses to recognize or rejects in himself are expelled from the self and located in another thing or person. In other words, placing uncomfortable and negative thoughts or emotions onto someone or something else. Alice in Wonderland features scattered moments highlighting Freud's concept of defense mechanisms, revealed to us through the way Alice responds to the Wonderland, aka her unconscious mind. At the beginning of the film, Alice denies all possibilities that the Wonderland is real, repeatedly insisting that this is just a dream. Freud states that denial can sometimes be a way of refusing to allow an idea access to consciousness at all. Alice denies the Wonderland as an attempt to manage the anxiety and fears the surreal journey into her unconscious mind presents. Furthermore, this denial shows Alice's reluctance to change and commit, not only within her unconscious mind, but also to what is deemed by society as important decisions, as is seen in her life outside of the Wonderland, with her impending engagement. The Wonderland, the extension of her unconscious mind, forces her to confront these issues. Audiences subconsciously relate to Alice's denial of the Wonderland and her reluctance to commit to real-life decisions. Furthermore, when Alice initially learns about the prophecy that she must defeat the Jabberwocky, she instantly denies her responsibility to do so, mirroring her reluctance to confront her fears and uncertainties in life. As the film progresses, Alice accepts her role as the champion of the Wonderland, marking the beginning of her sublimation process, channeling her anxiety, a less socially accepted emotion, to heroism and bravery, traits glorified by society. In conjunction with this, Alice projects her feelings of being misunderstood and an outsider onto the Mad Hatter. This can be seen in this scene.
Have I gone mad?
Afraid so. You're entirely bonkers. But I'll tell you a secret. All the best people are.
As we see in the scene, Alice has projected her feelings of insanity and being an outsider onto the Mad Hatter. Through this projection, Alice is able to accept and validate her own uniqueness. Although it may seem like Alice is speaking to the Mad Hatter in the scene, she's actually sending herself an internal message. That being different is not necessarily a bad thing, and it's okay to be a bit different. Audiences see this and subconsciously soak in the bigger message this film is trying to convey. That conforming to societal expectations is not the way to happiness, but ensures a depressing, lackluster life. Watching Alice in Wonderland through the lens of Freud Sigmund's psychoanalytic theory has completely shifted my view on the film. Initially, I did not come to even consider that a film made for children could have a deeper meaning beyond its shallow, family-friendly storyline. In hindsight, I've come to understand that this film is so rich in underlying and deeper messages. Alice's journey through the Wonderland is in reality a journey of self-discovery and improvement. Through this film, Tim Burton wanted to highlight the pressures society places on members, specifically young adults and teenagers, such as Alice. Being a teenager myself watching this, I resonated with Alice. Society places extreme pressures on me to know what career I want to pursue, what relationships I want to pursue, what friend groups I'm in, etc. But Alice gives me hope. Hope that I too can break from the shackles of societal expectations and do what I want to do, not what I'm expected to do. This film has also given me a deeper understanding into human nature and how we internalize our issues we're facing, and how we must also solve these issues internally. Overall, the success of this film isn't solely based on its outstanding CGI or family-oriented storyline, or even the renowned actors such as Johnny Depp. It has seen success due to the audience's ability to relate to Alice, giving us a blueprint on how to go about solving our problems and finally living for ourselves. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed. Sorry, I sound a bit sick.